I'm Maria,
Hi, I'm Emma.
and we're both editors here at MetaStellar.
Regina.
Oh, MetaStellar. And we also have a MetaStellar writer here, Regina Clark. Regina, we're going to have some free sci-fi and fantasy books for you to read this weekend.
Today is Friday, September 19th, and today's list includes romantasy, a dystopia, a space opera, and Terrence and Lilibet also helped out with today's reviews, but they couldn't make it here today. So it's just me, Maria, and Regina.
Don't forget to grab the books quickly because they do not stay free for long. So, and the way this works is we read the first few chapters of each of the books at the top of Amazon's free sci-fi and fantasy bestseller list. Yes, they have a bestseller list just for free books. It's in the description list down below. And we're going to tell you what we honestly thought of these books.
It looks like we're starting with book 5, which is a space opera. And even though Terrence reviewed this one, this is definitely up your alley, Maria.
Yes, I do love space operas. Here's the book. Let me make that a little bit bigger for you guys. Go. Hold size. All right. So Terrence read this for us, and this is actually the second of 9 books in the Galaxy Bridge space opera series. The other books are $1 to $5 each, but they're all in Kindle Unlimited. And all the first 3 books of the entire series are all free today. And Kindle Unlimited is where you pay $12 a month and you read all the books you want. Since this is the second book in the series, to avoid spoilers, we read the beginning of the first book instead, and that first book is Forward Command. And again, it's also free, so download that first. And here is what Terrence says about this book. It's a sci-fi book in the style that something Star Trek fans would enjoy. There's aliens of different races working together, starships exploring unknown regions, and enigmatic threats. And in the prologue, we're introduced to one of these threats immediately. A massive crystalline structure that blazes waste to a starship, not only reanimating, but also assimilating its surviving crew into its structure. It's a biological level of terror that would give even the Star Trek's Borg a run for their money. And Terrence says that the protagonists are really likable and interesting. And the first 2 that we meet are Colonel Mateo, who's being given command of a new ship, and a botanist, Esme, who is also the Colonel's loving and supporting wife. And the 2 have a healthy relationship, but Mateo's work has some classified aspects that he can't share with her. And there's also a businessman looking to cash in on some less than ethical opportunities, and his nephew, and they're also involved at the beginning of this book. And the businessman sounds like he would be an ideal member of the Ferengi race from Star Trek Deep Space Nine. And, the thing where war is good for business and peace is good for business. And Terrence says that he suspects that the nephew is autistic. And the businessman says that he smells money, and the nephew takes him literally. And he says that digital currency doesn't have a cent. So Terrence says that it's an intriguing beginning, and he's interested in finding out exactly what this alien threat is that the characters are up against. And it does sound like a fun story. And like I said, the first 3 books are free. So if this is your kind of thing, grab them quickly because they do not stay free for long. Next is a book that I've read the beginning of, The Fae King's Curse by Jamie Schlosser. The first of 5 books in the Between Dawn and Dusk, a romantasy series. The other books are $4 each, and they're also in Kindle Unlimited. And so, as you can see, there's a naked guy in the book cover. And
Hey, Maria, really quick, it accidentally switched back to 5. Oh, now it's back to 4. Now it's back.
So as you can see, there's a naked guy in the book cover, and I am not fond of naked guys on book covers. It's not my thing. And really, if you are a romantasy fan, we need you on our team because we have a shortage of people who like romantasy. But anyway, these books sell like hotcakes. People love them. Everyone except me. So anyway, so the book opens with 12-year-old Quinn, and she's sitting frustrated at the dock. It's March in Wisconsin. The creek is flooded, and fishing was bad today. Then she sees another kid in the water. He's caught in a current. She stretches out her fishing pole. The other kid catches hold of it. And as she tries to rescue him, she sees that he's the same age as she is, and he's absolutely gorgeous. And I'm like, oh no, oh no. Of course he's gorgeous. And anyway, once she rescues him, the kid talks about portals. He calls her a peasant. And then he says he owes her a boon and orders her to guide him to land. And he stretches out a hand, and Quinn realizes that the kid is blind. And he wants to go to the honeysuckle field, which is in a meadow in the middle of the forest, because his mother likes honeysuckle wine, and they don't have those flowers in the night realm. And she figures he's a weird Dungeons and Dragons nerd. Have some, a little romantic moment, and she gives him something that belongs to her, a little marble, so that he can come back to her again. And she tries to get him to come home with her so she can warm him up, because he's cold. He's just, in a river in March. And he refuses, and she turns around and he's disappeared. And then the next chapter, we switch to the kid's point of view, the magic kid, the elf. And we get a little bit of his backstory and his struggles with his handicap. Then we switch back to Quinn. So we go back and forth, switching points of view, which is usually a dead giveaway that they're going to end up together. Anyway, we're back with Quinn. She goes home. She tells her parents about the kid. They call the sheriff. They send out a search party because it's cold. It's Wisconsin. It's March, and there's a kid lost in the woods. And of course, they can't find him. And the next day, she goes back to the same spot, figuring that she just imagined him, but then where's her marble? And then the kid shows back up again, except he's 6 inches taller. He gives her back the marble and tells her that he's Fae and time passes differently in this world. So for every day that passes for her, a whole year passes for him. And he tells her the witch caused his blindness and he's under this curse. And the only way he can get his sight back is if he finds his fated mate. And I'm like, oh no. Anyway, for the next few chapters, yes, I read a bunch more chapters of this. This goes back and forth. She's like a day older, he's a year older. And we jump ahead 3 years and another 3 years, and she's about to leave for college. And he's like super old now, and she's still a teenager. And there's all this drama why they can't be together and all this stuff. So it's not my thing in any way, shape, or form. It's all lovey-dovey. There's no plot. There's no other plot other than, oh, they get together. They're in love. She reads books to him, and literally they can't go anywhere. They can't do anything. They just sit in these woods and chat once a day for her and once a year for him. And she thinks he's hot, and he thinks she smells good, which I hate that trope. And so that's like the whole beginning of the story. And so there's hints that there's wars going on in the fairyland, and there's actual action happening somewhere, but we haven't seen any of this action yet. And I'm like losing faith that we'll ever get to see any of that action. But who knows? It might happen. But anyway, big love story here. These two people who are torn apart by the fact that they live in different magical worlds. Anyway, so if that's your kind of thing, the book is free. And all the other books are in Kindle Unlimited. So if you're a Kindle Unlimited member, plenty of other stuff for you to read if you enjoy this author style. And next we have something, again, completely different. The Running Game by Ellie Fitzpatrick is the first of 4 books in the Reachers dystopian adventure series. The other books are $3 each, and they're not in Kindle Unlimited. And Emma read this for us. Emma, what did you think of this book?
I really enjoyed this beginning because it felt like it had like a lot of intrigue and the paranormal stuff going on, so I was really excited to get into it. The story begins with Rachel, and she's this nurse who just got off a 12-hour shift at her local hospital. And on her way out, she passes by a bunch of women with sick children, like people lying bleeding out on the floor. And apparently the hospital is so understaffed and so many people are in need of help. But Rachel just resigns herself to the fact that she can't help all of them. And she's saying, okay, I just need to get home, get some rest, go back in another few hours for another 12-hour shift. So she heads down the street and she passes several abandoned buildings. And we get some background at some point in the parts that I've read about how the British Empire collapsed within a few years. Everything from the economy to like the food industry just sort of tanked. And so most people are left wandering the streets. Crime is really high. So she's walking down the street and there's all these unsavory characters and like homeless people and the classic sitting in front of a fire coming out of a barrel type thing. And Rachel sticks to her instincts and she's just there to get herself home safely. But on her way back, she feels like someone is watching her. And she's felt this feeling for days, but she's never found anyone when she turns around. She just knows that someone's watching her. And finally, she has enough. She turns around, she urges whoever it is to come out and fix her. And suddenly, this guy runs out from out of nowhere and telling her to get down. A bomb explodes in a nearby abandoned bank, but luckily, Rachel is all right because the guy was like, hey, get down. And before Rachel can really process what happened, the man disappears. The story then cuts to Charlie. He is hiding out in an apartment. He's walking with crutches. It severely limits his mobility. We get some background here about how he really wants to be able to do more within his job and especially help his brother out. And it's established that he's what's called a reacher, so like the title of the book. And it's someone with these different supernatural abilities. Don't really know a whole too lot about what that is yet, but he and his brother John are tasked with using these abilities, whatever they are, to hunt people down and hand them over to this mysterious boss that they work for, which I think is some type of crime lord. And his brother John gets home. It's revealed he was the man who saved Rachel from the bomb. He's also the guy who's been following her because it turns out that Rachel is actually being followed. And it turns out that they've been tracking Rachel because they need to bring her to the boss. They need to bring her alive. And from reading ahead, it looks like other people are after Rachel too. The one thing I was wondering is if John was right there with Rachel and saved her from the bomb, why he didn't just bring her in the first place. But maybe that question gets answered later. I didn't continue reading. I stopped right there and I really enjoyed it. I think what struck me most about this book was the suspense and the atmosphere. The writing style was more telling than showing, which I kind of gave it knockout points for, but it all felt very dystopian and it kind of hit close to reality in some ways, but I still thought it was pretty gripping. I thought it had really good suspense, and I recommend it for people who are interested in dystopias and maybe even a dash of the paranormal.
All right, thanks. All right, let's go on to book number 2 on today's list, which is Faded to the Wolf Prince. Let me make that a little bit bigger for you guys so you can see it. Here you go. So this is Faded to the Wolf Prince by April Moon, the first of 5 books in the Hunted Omegas, a romantasy series. The other books are $1 to $6 each, and they are all in Kindle Unlimited. And Lilivette read this for us, but since Lilivette couldn't make it, Emma, you're up again.
There's a lot of faded books today, this week, you know?
We're like, well, I'm going back and forth between like, you know, romantasy and like action, and romantasy and action.
So Lilibet says that when she first met the main characters, they both ended up being a lot more interested than she expected. So one of the characters is Brielle. She's this 27-year-old like she-wolf scientist, which sounds pretty cool. And she spends her days in her lab studying shifters and working with blood samples. And another one of the characters is Kane. He is the son of the most powerful alpha in the region and probably even the world. And he's basically like a prince to the werewolves. Not as interesting to me as the wolf scientist, but throughout the first few chapters, they seem to be very different people, but they do have something in common. And it's the fact that their inner wolves start acting up the moment they lock eyes with each other. So this happens like the moment Brielle arrives with her friends and her pack from Texas at the Blackwaters location in Alaska. So this is where Kane is. And apparently every she-wolf and male wolf without mates are summoned there by the alpha or king or whatever, so they can meet up and try to find their new mates. And Lilith says that this sounds like forcing mating bonds on single wolves, but really the king is just tired of his son Kane not finding a mate at almost 30, which that's pretty comedic. And she said what she enjoyed most about this book was the fact that it sounds like your typical wolf shifter with like the forced proximity romance, but it felt like it was a little bit more than that. The writing is fast paced, easy to follow. Both the main characters are interesting and have personalities, and she really enjoys how Brielle is close with her friends and things like that. And she said this will be a great read for fans who are fans of quick paced paranormal romance, and she definitely recommends it. And she's definitely going to continue reading.
All right, thanks. So before we go on to book number 1 on today's list, I would like to thank our Patreon supporters, including our newest supporter, Peter Bishop. Hey, Peter, if you're watching this, thank you so much for joining our family. The reason we have Patreon supporters is because we publish original fiction and we pay authors for their stories. And we have 2 submission cycles, and the next one is coming up on October 1st. So if you're a writer of short stories, mark that on your calendar. And we also publish anthologies. We've got 3 anthologies already out. The 4th, we're finishing up right now. I'm waiting for the page proofs, and it's already available for pre-order. Links are in the description box below. We publish entire books. Gods and Monsters is on the Nebula Awards reading list for next year, which is so awesome. We're so proud. We also just finished serializing RENNA'S Crossing, and we're currently figuring out which books we're going to serialize next. So that's very exciting. And then the other thing I wanted to mention before we go is that Emma is a book coach. I'm also Gina is also an author, and her Amazon page and website and everything else isn't going to be in the description box below as well. And next time we're going to see if we can put her book covers up too for you. All right, and let's get on to book number 1 on today's list, which is, we're back to science fiction and action again. This is Shakedowners by Justin Woolley, the first of 4 books in the Shakedowners science fiction adventure series. It's a space opera. The other books are $5 each, but they're all in Kindle Unlimited. And Regina read this book for us. So tell us, what you think of this book?
Oh, thank you for having me here, Maria. Humorous sci-fi isn't my first choice, since I like the genre to take me on really serious, intense missions. But this book, still, it drew me in right away. As far as I can tell, it's a pan on the original Star Trek, along with Firefly and Buck Rogers, with some of the cast of Farscape thrown in. The blurb says this outright with lines like, "To boldly go where no losers have gone before," and mentions that Captain Iridius B. Franklin spends his time not leading missions of anything anywhere, but has a proven skill at breaking starships. He's become the go-to guy with a small crew to test whether newly built starships are space-worthy, or to see if they can cause a shakedown and break up the ship's ops. But fate intervenes, and when an unknown alien life form attacks Earth, Iridius is given control of what is essentially the enterprise of his world. Chapter 1 opens with the captain, who's a very interesting fellow. He doesn't appear to know very much of anything, but he's still entertaining somehow. Chapter 1 opens with the captain trying to record his status in the ship's log with grand, expansive language, but has to consult his ensign on the date and time of wherever he's logging these things. He then describes their humanitarian mission, again reminded by his ensign that their cargo is full of toy dogs. The freighter he commands is 40 years old, and most of the time his crew has nothing to do. His executive officer and second in command, Quinn, is the one Iridius turns to when he needs facts or data or a description of where they are going. He is also convinced his ensign is an artificial intelligence, which does not please him since it obviously knows more than Iridius. When he goes to his own quarters to take a nap, he's interrupted by an alert from Central, announcing that his former lover has been given command of a Universe-class starship. Envy shoots through him as he gets up and walks through his own rust bucket hauler, wondering where he'd gone wrong. He ignores the faint memory that he graduated at the bottom of his class. I found myself thoroughly enjoying the interplay of the characters. Some of it laugh out loud funny, and that doesn't usually happen for me. Quirky at times, often illogical, but it's obvious the captain and crew are used to each other for good or ill. It's in the middle of the second chapter that the crisis occurs, and it becomes a turning point for Iridius. The hauler, now entirely in normal space-time, is viewing the planet below them, their destination, the secured colony where their toy dogs are meant to be delivered. Then the ship begins to experience engine mechanical problems it's never had before, that no one can solve and that have never shown up. Iridius orders them to take the ship down and land near the colony they're not supposed to visit, according to Central's orders. What they find is the colony is filled with pink slime and swarms of invading black bugs they have to escape, creatures that can form tentacles. They all get back to their ship, only to find that some of the bugs have invaded their spacesuits and now are making their way into the cargo of toy dogs, transforming the dogs into the most advanced synthetic intelligence in the galaxy. I have to say, I fully intend to read the rest of this book. It is one of the wittiest books I've come across for sci-fi, and I want to know how they defeat the unexpected nanotechnology.
That sounds awesome. This is exactly my kind of book. Yeah. So I've already downloaded it. So I've got it on my Kindle. And if you read it, let us know what you think of it, folks. And let us know where you stand on the whole action versus romance side of the sci-fi fantasy debate. All right, so I'm going to leave a whole bunch of links in the description box below and in the first pinned comment. Subscribe to our channel if you don't want to miss any of these free Fridays, because we do this every single Friday afternoon. And you have to act quick, because like I said, the books don't stay free for long. And we also have a newsletter you can subscribe to and a Patreon. And you can also join the channel if you want to throw us a couple of bucks that we will spend on original fiction by new and emerging authors. Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Emma and Regina, for joining us.
Thank you.
Bye.
Have a great weekend, everybody. Bye-bye.